I could smell the roast before I even stepped into the dining room. It used to make me feel at home. Tonight, it just made my stomach twist. "Ethan, you're late again," my father said without looking up. His voice was sharp, precise, like he'd practiced it. I took my seat at the far end of the table, across from them, Lily and Aaron, my fiancé. My stepbrother. Their hands brushed as they reached for the wine. My pulse jumped. "Traffic," I muttered. Lily smiled faintly, not meeting my eyes. "We were just talking about the new project. Aaron said you might need help with the presentation next week." I laughed under my breath. "Help? From him?" Aaron leaned back, smirking. "Come on, little brother. No need to sound so defensive. We're still family, aren't we?" Still family. My fork trembled in my hand. My stepmother, Margaret, filled my glass. "Let's not start the evening like this. It's Sunday. We should be grateful to have everyone here. Everyone, including the two people who had burned my life to the ground 3 days ago." I stared at the reflection of the chandelier in my wine glass. "Grateful, sure." Father cleared his throat. "Ethan, your tone..." "My tone?" I looked up. "You invited them here after everything." Aaron chuckled, low and confident. "You mean after your meltdown? Don't act like it's the end of the world. People make mistakes." "Mistakes?" My voice cracked. "Sleeping with my fiancé is a mistake?" The air in the room shifted. Margaret set down her fork with a soft clang. "Ethan, please. We agreed not to discuss personal matters at the table." I stared at her, disbelief crawling up my spine. "Personal matters? You call betrayal personal matters?" Lily finally spoke, her voice trembling. "Ethan, I didn't mean to hurt you. It just happened." I was confused, and Aaron... "Don't," I said sharply. "Don't blame confusion. You knew exactly what you were doing." Aaron grinned, lifting his glass. "Easy, brother. It's not healthy to hold grudges. We're all adults here." I wanted to smash that glass into his smirk, but instead I forced a smile. "You're right, Aaron, we're adults. Some of us just pretend to have morals." My father sighed. "This isn't productive. Ethan, you're emotional. You need to think clearly. The company can't afford more tension." "The company," I repeated. "Right, always the company. Not your son. Not what he's going through." Margaret gave a tight smile. "Family means compromise, dear. We can't let emotions ruin relationships." "Relationships?" I laughed hollowly. "You mean lies dressed up as dinner etiquette?" Lily's eyes glistened. "Please, Ethan, I didn't plan this. You were distant lately. You barely looked at me anymore." My chest tightened. "So you went to my brother instead?" "He's not your brother," Aaron cut in, leaning forward. "You've never treated me like one. Maybe she just wanted someone who actually listened." My hands curled into fists. "I didn't treat you like one because you've never been one. You were competition from the day you moved in." Aaron smirked. "And I still win, huh?" The room froze. My father set down his knife. "That's enough. Both of you," but my head was spinning. The chandelier lights blurred. "Win? You think this is a game?" Aaron shrugged. "Life's a game, Ethan. Some of us just play it better." Margaret's voice shook. "Aaron, stop provoking him," Lily whispered. "Please stop." But Aaron didn't stop. He leaned closer, his tone mocking. "You should thank me, really. I showed you who she truly is. That's what family's for, right?" Something in me snapped. The fork clattered against the plate as I slammed my hand down. The sound echoed through the room. Everyone flinched. I stood, shaking. "You think this is family? This circus?" My voice cracked with rage. "You all sit here pretending nothing happened, smiling like we're in a commercial for forgiveness." My father rose halfway from his chair. "Sit down, Ethan." "No." My chair scraped the floor as I stepped back. "You taught me that appearances matter more than truth. Well, here's the truth. Your golden son and my fiancé betrayed me, and you're all fine with it. That's the kind of family you built." Margaret's lip trembled. "You're being dramatic," I laughed bitterly. "Dramatic?" "No, Margaret. Dramatic is pretending to care while passing the potatoes." Lily's voice broke. "Ethan, please." "I'm sorry. I met her eyes for the first time that night." "No, you're not." "You're just scared that I finally see you," Aaron muttered. Typical victim speech. I turned to him slowly. "Enjoy her, Aaron. You'll need something to hold on to when everything else falls apart." He scoffed. "Empty threats." "You won't do anything," I smiled, cold, steady. "Watch me." The silence that followed was heavier than any word spoken. My father's hand hovered mid-air, like he wanted to stop me but didn't know how. I walked around the table, my steps echoing across the tile. I could feel every eye on me, Lily's guilt, Aaron's arrogance, my parents' shame. At the doorway, I paused. "You can all keep pretending," I said quietly. "But I'm done playing along." Then I left. Behind me, the faint sound of cutlery resumed, like nothing had happened. Fake laughter followed, thin and hollow, as the door shut behind me. Outside, the cold air hit my skin like a slap. For the first time in years, I felt something real. I still remember the first time I met Lily. It was raining, and I was late for a meeting at the design firm. She walked in holding 2 coffees, smiled, and said, "You look like you need this more than I do." I laughed. "That obvious?" "Completely," she said, handing me the cup. "You've got the eyes of a man losing a fight with deadlines." That was Lily, sharp, playful, impossible to ignore. We started talking during lunch breaks. She'd sit on the edge of my desk, tapping her nails against my blueprints. "You ever take a break, Ethan?" she asked once. "Not when I'm chasing perfection," I replied. She smiled softly. "Perfection's overrated. I'd rather have something real." Something real. Back then, I believed her. I remember the night I asked her out. We stayed late finishing a client model, and the office lights flickered like the universe was winking at me. I said, "Dinner? My treat." "No spreadsheets, no sketches," she grinned. "You sure you can talk about something other than architecture?" "I can try," I said. That night turned into 100 more. We laughed until the waiter gave us looks. She told me about her dreams, opening her own studio, designing spaces that made people feel less lonely. I told her about my family, about Aaron, and how I was always compared to him. She said, "You don't have to compete. You're not like him." I should have listened to the tone in her voice when she said his name. Too curious, too warm. But I didn't. I wanted to believe love made me special. Months passed. We moved in together. She brought color into my apartment, flowers on the counter, paintings that didn't match anything. Every morning she'd hum while making coffee, then kiss my cheek and whisper, "You overthink too much." I'd smile and say, "That's what makes me good at my job." But the first cracks showed slowly. One night she was texting while we watched a movie. She smiled at her phone more than the screen. I asked, "Work messages?" She nodded too fast. "Just Aaron. He's helping me with a client presentation." "Aaron." I brushed it off. He was charming, and my father always called him the people person. I told myself it was nothing. A week later, I caught them laughing together in the office hallway. His hand brushed her shoulder. She didn't pull away. I asked her about it later. She frowned. "You're being paranoid, Ethan. He's your brother. You trust me, don't you?" I said yes. God, I said yes. Our engagement came 6 months later. I remember Aaron standing at the center of the crowd, raising a glass. "To Ethan and Lily," he said. "Two people who prove that loyalty and love can still exist in this world." The irony burns now. I looked at Lily that night, the lights reflecting in her eyes. She whispered, "You make me feel safe." "Safe," I repeated, smiling. I thought that was love, safety, stability, quiet mornings and long nights. I didn't see that she wanted chaos, attention, a kind of spark I never offered. Sometimes in those last months, she'd stare out the window, lost in thought. I'd ask, "What are you thinking about?" She'd shrug. "Just life." "Do you ever wonder if we settled too soon?" That one hurt. "I thought we were building something." She touched my hand but didn't look at me. "We are, I just don't know if I'm ready for forever." I tried to fix it. Flowers, dinners, weekend trips. She smiled but felt distant. I told myself it was stress. I told myself love meant patience. Then came the night she didn't come home. Midnight passed. 1 a.m. turned into 3. When she finally walked through the door, I asked, "Where were you?" She hesitated, eyes glassy. "With a client. Aaron drove me home. I wanted to believe her. I always did." Looking back, it wasn't one betrayal. It was a slow decay, tiny lies wrapped in soft smiles. Every sign was there, but I kept choosing blindness. Sophie once asked me, "Do you ever think you loved the idea of her more than the person?" Maybe I did. Maybe I loved who I thought she could be if she stayed mine. Now, sitting in the quiet, I replay every conversation, every laugh, every time she said, I love you. I hear it differently now. Not a promise, just a line rehearsed until it sounded real. If I'd paid attention, I might have seen it coming. The glances between them. The way Aaron always found reasons to mention her. The way my father said, Aaron's always been better with people. I used to think trust was strength. That if you believed hard enough, people would live up to your faith. Now I know better. Love didn't blind me. Hope did. The phone wouldn't stop ringing. I stared at it until the screen went dark, then it lit up again. Dad. I sighed and answered. What? His tone was clipped. You can't avoid your family forever, Ethan. This has gone far enough. Gone far enough? I said quietly. You mean my fiancé sleeping with Aaron? That's between the three of you, he said. Dragging it out helps no one. You need to move past the drama and focus on your work. I laughed bitterly. Drama, that's what you call it? You're emotional, he replied. Be rational. Your reaction is hurting our image. The board's already talking. Glad to know my heartbreak affects your reputation more than my life, he sighed. Aaron made a mistake. Don't ruin your future over this. I clenched my jaw. My future was tied to someone who destroyed me, and you want me to pretend it's fine? Pretend, no, he said. But forgive and move on. That's what adults do. Adults, I echoed. Right. I ended the call before he could say another word. Not 10 minutes later, Margaret called. Her voice was syrupy sweet like poison disguised as honey. Ethan, dear, I just spoke with your father. You shouldn't isolate yourself. Lily's devastated too, you know. Is she? I asked flatly. She made a mistake, Margaret said softly. Maybe if you'd been more attentive— Don't, I snapped. Don't finish that sentence. She hesitated, then sighed. I'm only saying relationships need effort. Women need attention, I gritted my teeth. So her betrayal is my fault now? She paused, voice cooling. It's strange how you always make yourself the victim, Ethan. Life doesn't revolve around your feelings. I let out a shaky laugh. You're right. Around here, it revolves around Aaron's. Watch your tone, she warned. I'd rather watch your hypocrisy, I said, then hung up. For a moment, silence filled the apartment, just the ticking clock and my uneven breathing. I stared at my reflection in the window, wondering how I'd become the villain in everyone's story. At work, Sophie noticed before I even said a word. Rough day? She asked gently, handing me a coffee. Rough life, I muttered. She smiled faintly. That bad? My father told me to move on, I said. My stepmother blamed me for not keeping Lily interested. Apparently betrayal's my fault now. Sophie leaned on my desk. It's strange, isn't it? How people twist pain until it fits their comfort. I sighed. They need a scapegoat. I'm convenient. Maybe, she said. But you don't have to carry their guilt. Her calmness made my anger flicker. Easy to say when it's not your fiancé and your brother, Sophie didn't flinch. You're right. It's not, but I know what it's like to stay where it hurts because leaving feels like losing. Her words hit too close. I can't just leave. My family owns half the firm. Aaron works here. If I quit, it looks like I'm running. Sometimes walking away isn't weakness, she said quietly. It's survival, I stared at her. You really believe that? She nodded. Completely. Staying in fire just to prove you're strong doesn't make you brave. It makes you ash. I let out a hollow laugh. So what, I write a resignation letter and disappear? If it means peace, yes, she said. I turned to my computer. The cursor blinked on an empty document. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Dear Board of Directors. The words looked foreign. My chest tightened. Leaving meant losing everything I'd built. Staying meant suffocating. Sophie's voice was soft. You don't have to decide today. I have to do something, I whispered. She put a hand on my shoulder. Do something for you this time. I wanted to believe that was possible. After she left, the office grew quiet. I stared at the half-written letter until the words blurred. I saved it as a draft. Not ready. Not yet. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, lights off. My phone buzzed again. A message, Aaron. You'll thank me one day. My hand shook. Thank him. For what? Destroying everything I trusted? For proving I'd been right about him all along? I stared at the message until the letters blurred, then deleted it. No reply, no reaction, but inside something cracked open. Not anger this time, something colder, sharper. For the first time in 3 days, I didn't feel broken. I felt awake, the cafe hadn't changed. Same dim lights, same smell of burnt espresso and rain. It was where I once knelt and asked Lily to marry me. Now I was here to bury whatever was left of that moment. They arrived together. Of course they did. Erin's hand rested casually on her back as if nothing about this was wrong. Lily smiled weakly. "Ethan, thank you for meeting us," I nodded. "Sit," Erin smirked. "Straight to business, huh? You always were the serious one." "I didn't call you here for nostalgia," I said. "We have things to settle." Erin leaned back. "Oh, come on. You can't stay mad forever. It wasn't personal?" "Wasn't personal?" My voice came out quiet, almost steady. "You slept with the woman I was going to marry," he shrugged. "It just happened. Chemistry, you know. You and Lily were already falling apart," Lily whispered. "Erin, don't..." He grinned. "What? He deserves honesty." I looked at Lily. "Do you agree with him?" Her eyes darted away. "I didn't mean to hurt you, Ethan. I was confused. You were so distant. I thought you didn't love me anymore." I nodded slowly. "So your solution was my brother?" "He's not your real brother," she said quickly, as if that made it better. I laughed quietly. "Right. Technicality makes betrayal easier to swallow," Erin chuckled. "You're being dramatic again. We didn't plan this, it just clicked." "Clicked," I repeated. "That's one word for it." Lily leaned forward. "Ethan, please. I can't undo what happened, but we can move on, all of us." "Move on," I said. "You really think it's that simple?" Erin smirked. "You can either forgive and start acting like an adult, or keep sulking like a victim." "Your choice." I stared at him, my pulse steady, my anger precise. "Funny how you always confuse silence with weakness," his smirk faltered. "What's that supposed to mean?" I reached into my jacket pocket and placed a small silver USB drive on the table. It gleamed under the light, small but heavy. Lily frowned. "What's that?" "Evidence," I said softly. "Of Erin's business fraud. Transfers, hidden accounts, fake client invoices. The kind of things that would ruin him and the company if they reached the board." Erin's face froze. "You're bluffing," I smiled. "Am I?" He reached for the drive, but I pulled it back. "Careful. I made copies." Lily's voice trembled. "Ethan, you wouldn't what? Expose the truth? You took everything from me and expect silence in return?" Erin leaned forward, his arrogance cracking. "You think this will make you feel better? You'll go down with me." "I don't care anymore," I said. "You took my fiancé, my peace, my name, and I said nothing. But this..." I tapped the USB. "This I won't stay quiet about." Lily's voice broke. "Ethan, please. He didn't mean for things to go this far." "He never means anything," I said. "That's his gift. He ruins things and calls it human nature." Erin slammed his hand on the table. "You're out of your mind." I met his glare. "Maybe, but at least I still have one." He tried to laugh it off, but his voice wavered. "You won't actually do it. You're too moral for that." I smiled faintly. "Morality's a luxury for people who haven't been betrayed." Lily began to cry, soft, rehearsed sobs. "I never wanted this to end ugly." "Then you shouldn't have painted it that way," I said. "I was loyal to both of you, and you both looked me in the eye and lied." Erin's knuckles whitened. "You think you're the hero in this? You're pathetic." "No," I said, rising from my chair. "I'm done being the fool." He stood too, voice shaking. "You'll regret this." "Maybe," I said, sliding the drive toward him, "but not as much as you will." Lily's breath hitched. "Ethan, what are you going to do?" "Leave," I said simply. "The company. The family. Everything. But before I do, I'll make sure the truth is the last thing your name remembers." Erin's face drained of color. "You wouldn't dare," I leaned close. "You dared first." For a long moment, none of us spoke. The sound of rain tapping against the window filled the silence. Then I straightened, tossed a few bills on the table, and turned toward the door. "You took my fiancé," I said quietly. "Now watch as you lose everything else." As I walked out, I heard Lily's sharp gasp and Erin's chair scrape violently against the floor. The door closed behind me, sealing their panic inside. Outside, the rain hit my face, cold and clean. For the first time in months, I felt something close to peace, like I'd finally drawn the line no one could cross again. When the news broke, I didn't feel satisfaction, just silence. The headlines read, "Ward and Comer under investigation for financial misconduct." Erin's face was plastered everywhere, smug, pale, cornered. My phone buzzed nonstop. I ignored every call until one name made me pause. Margaret. I sighed and answered. What is it? Her voice cracked through sobs. Ethan, please, you have to help us. The board is in chaos. Your father hasn't slept. Everyone's blaming Aaron, but this could destroy us all. Could, I said softly. Or already did. Don't be cruel, she snapped, then broke again. You're part of this family. You can't just watch us fall. I stared out the window at the gray sky. I warned you, I said. You all chose not to listen. Her breath hitched. You did this, didn't you? I almost laughed. No, Margaret. Aaron did this. I just stopped cleaning up after him. She cursed under her breath, voice trembling. You've changed. Finally, I said, and hung up. Minutes later, my father called. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened my laptop and checked the firm's site. Statements, denials, panic. Aaron's name scrubbed from every page like a ghost they were desperate to erase. It should have felt like revenge. It didn't. It just felt quiet. That afternoon, Sophie knocked on my apartment door with 2 coffees. You look like someone who hasn't slept in a week. I haven't, I said. Been busy watching Karma work overtime. She smiled faintly. You did the right thing, did I? I asked. It feels hollow. She sat across from me. Because you're not a monster. You didn't want revenge. You wanted peace. I leaned back. Peace sounds foreign. You'll learn it, she said. Eventually, we talked for hours. About work, life, and everything between. I told her I was thinking of starting my own design studio. Small, independent. You should, she said. You were always too good to hide under their name. I don't know where to start. She smiled. You already did. You walked away. Her words sank deeper than I expected. I rubbed my temples. Sometimes I wonder if I should have just forgiven them and moved on quietly. Forgiveness doesn't mean letting people walk all over you, she said. You can let go without letting them win. I looked at her. You really believe that? She nodded. I admire you, Ethan. You still care even after everything. That kind of loyalty, it's rare. I laughed softly. Loyalty almost ruined me. Maybe, she said, but it also kept you human. Something in her tone warmed the air. I hadn't realized how heavy loneliness had become until she lifted some of it just by being there. Later that night, I opened a blank design file, first one since the breakup. Lines, shapes, structure. It felt good to create again. Not for money. Not for anyone else. For me. My phone buzzed again. Lily. I hesitated, then answered. Her voice was sharp, desperate. You destroyed me, Ethan. I closed my eyes. Hello to you, too. Everyone's talking. My clients dropped me. Do you know what they're saying about me? Probably the truth, she hissed. You think this makes you righteous? You ruined my life. I didn't ruin it, I said quietly. You did. I just stopped pretending you were the victim. You're cold, she spat. You used to be kind. I used to believe lies, I replied. Big difference. She tried to cry, but it sounded hollow. Aaron's gone. He won't even return my calls. You happy now? I didn't answer. Say something, she demanded. I stared at the wall. Goodbye, Lily. Before she could reply, I ended the call and blocked her number. For a moment, the silence felt too loud. Then it started to feel like peace again. I sat on the balcony, phone face down, city lights stretching into the distance. Sophie's words echoed in my head. Sometimes walking away isn't weakness. It's survival. Maybe strength isn't about fighting. Maybe it's about finally letting go. Inside, the TV whispered more headlines about Aaron's downfall. Stocks falling, investors fleeing. I turned it off. None of it mattered anymore. For the first time in months, I wasn't thinking about revenge or pain or what I'd lost. I was thinking about what I could build next. The invitation arrived in a thick white envelope, gold lettering, expensive paper, the usual Ward family showmanship, Robert Ward's 60th birthday celebration. I almost tore it up. But curiosity is a cruel thing. So 3 nights later, I found myself standing outside the same mansion where everything began to rot. The lights were too bright, the laughter too forced. I took a deep breath and walked in. Ethan, my father said, raising his glass. You made it. Yeah, I said. Wouldn't miss another family performance. He frowned slightly, but before he could answer, I saw them. Lily and Aaron, together again. She wore white, of course. He looked thinner, older, still arrogant enough to smirk when our eyes met. "Ethan," Lily said softly. "You look good. Recovery suits me," I said. Aaron's jaw tightened. "Didn't expect you to show?" "Neither did I replied. "But I figured someone should remind Dad what honesty looks like." He scoffed. "Still the martyr, huh? Still the liar?" I shot back, my father's voice cut between us. "Enough. Tonight isn't about old wounds. It's about family." "Family," I said under my breath. "Right." Margaret appeared beside him, smiling too brightly. "Let's all behave. We've embarrassed ourselves enough this year." Aaron poured himself another drink. "You're right, Mother. Some of us more than others," my father glared at me. "He's been through enough, Ethan. The press ruined him." "You didn't need to pile on," I laughed quietly. "I didn't destroy the business, Dad. I just stopped covering his lies." Aaron slammed his glass down. "You think you're some kind of hero? You dragged this family through the mud." "I revealed what was already there," I said calmly. "You just hate mirrors." Lily's voice trembled. "Please, both of you, don't do this here." I turned to her. "Funny. That's exactly what I said when I caught you two together." "Didn't work then either," she flinched, eyes glassy. Aaron stepped closer, fists clenched. "You've got no idea what you started." "I know exactly what I started," I said. "An ending." My father's face hardened. "You've always been dramatic. This family built something great and you tore it down out of spite." "No," I said. "You built it on corruption and pretended it was legacy." "I just stopped pretending with you," Margaret hissed. "Show some respect." I smiled faintly. "Respect's earned. And you all lost it long before I lost my patience." The room fell silent. I could feel every pair of eyes on me, judging, whispering, afraid of truth slipping through silverware and champagne. Aaron sneered. "Look at you, still trying to sound noble while everything you love falls apart." I took a step closer. "Everything I loved already fell apart when I found out what you were capable of." He leaned in, voice low and venomous. "You think you're better than me?" "No," I said. "Just finally free from you." My father raised his glass awkwardly. "Let's not ruin my birthday." A toast to forgiveness. The word tasted sour. I stood there, watching him pretend unity existed. Watching Aaron fake a grin, Lily dab at non-existent tears. Forgiveness. They said it like a bandage. Not a truth. I placed my untouched glass on the table. "You can toast all you want," I said. "But what you're drinking to isn't forgiveness, it's denial," Aaron muttered. "Always the moral preacher. And you," I said, "always the proof that some people mistake arrogance for strength." My father slammed his hand down. "Enough! You've humiliated us long enough." I looked at him steadily. "No, Dad. You humiliated yourself when you chose silence over decency." His face flushed red. "Get out," I nodded. Gladly. As I turned to leave, I heard Margaret whisper, "He'll regret this." Maybe, but not tonight. The music resumed awkwardly behind me. Glasses clinked. Laughter returned, hollow and trembling. The Ward family tradition, pretend everything's fine until it isn't. Outside, the cold air wrapped around me like freedom. I walked across the driveway, every step lighter than the last. A car engine hummed nearby. Sophie rolled down her window, smiling softly. "You finally did it," I exhaled. "Yeah, I did." She studied me for a moment. "How does it feel?" I thought about the house behind me, the ghosts I'd left sitting at that table. "Like breathing for the first time," she smiled. "Then let's go." I got in, and as the mansion lights disappeared in the mirror, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not anger. Not sadness, peace. Morning light slips through the blinds, painting thin gold lines across my desk. The apartment is quiet, too quiet sometimes, but I've started to like that. Silence doesn't scare me anymore. It feels earned. I pour a cup of coffee and glance at the sketchbook lying open beside the laptop. New projects. Small ones, personal ones. Work that doesn't need my father's approval or the family's name stamped across the front. The phone buzzes once. I stare at the screen before picking it up. A single message from unknown. Aaron Ward arrested. Fraud confirmed. Company under federal investigation. No greeting. No emotion. Just words that should have made me feel something. I take a slow breath. Nothing. Not relief. Not joy, just stillness. I set the phone down and whisper, "Guess karma finally clocked in." Outside, rain begins to fall, the kind of steady drizzle that makes the world sound softer. A second buzz. Another message, Lily Carter, leaving town. Don't bother calling. You got what you wanted, I almost laugh. What I wanted? I whisper. No, Lily, what I needed. I don't reply. I delete both messages, one after the other, until the screen goes black again. I spend the rest of the morning sketching. Lines flow easier now, cleaner. My hands don't shake when I draw. Somewhere between revenge and forgiveness, I found balance, maybe even purpose. At noon, I grab my coat and head to the cafe. The same one where it all began. The bell above the door jingles as I walk in. Same tables, same smell of roasted beans and sugar, but it feels different now, like time exhaled and let me breathe again. I take my usual seat by the window, pull out a notebook, and start writing. Forgiveness isn't for them. It's the key that unlocks the cage they left me in. The words come easy. For months I tried to forget, but forgetting isn't healing. It's just pretending the wound isn't there. Now, I write it out, line by line, until the pain feels like ink drying instead of blood. A familiar voice breaks through my thoughts. You always look like you're fighting a war with the page. I glance up. Sophie stands there smiling softly, 2 coffees in her hands. I smile back. And you always bring reinforcements, she laughs, sitting across from me. You never did learn to take a break. I'm learning, I say. One quiet morning at a time. She studies me for a moment, eyes kind but curious. So how does it feel? Knowing they finally got what they deserved? I think about it. Empty at first, then peaceful. Peaceful. Yeah, I say. I thought revenge would fix everything. But turns out peace isn't about seeing them fall, it's about not caring when they do. She nods slowly. That sounds like growth, I chuckle. Or exhaustion, her smile widens. Both can coexist. For a moment, neither of us speaks. The cafe hums around us, soft music, distant chatter, cups clinking. It feels real again, not like a stage I'm performing on. Sophie leans forward. You ever miss them? Sometimes, I admit. Not who they were, who I thought they were. That's fair. I used to replay every memory, trying to find the exact moment things went wrong. Now I just let them fade. I don't need answers anymore. She tilts her head. And what do you need now? I smile faintly, still figuring that out. But it's quieter inside my head now. That's new, she glances at my notebook. Writing again? Trying to, I say. It's mostly nonsense about forgiveness. Maybe nonsense is where the truth hides, she says. I laugh. You sound like a therapist, she shrugs. Maybe I just pay attention. Her tone is light, but her eyes stay on mine, steady, sincere. There's no pity in them, no judgment, just presence. I take a sip of coffee, staring out the window. It's funny, I say. For so long, I thought betrayal ended me. I thought I'd never feel anything again except anger. And now? She asks. Now I think it showed me who I really was, I say quietly, and who I don't want to be anymore. She smiles, soft and knowing. Maybe this is where it begins again. Maybe, I whisper. We sit there for a long while, saying nothing. Just the rain outside, the sound of her breathing, the warmth of something unspoken sitting between us. I look at her, really look. Not as someone to fix me, not as a savior, but as someone who stayed when everyone else left. She catches my gaze. What? Nothing, I say. Just realizing I don't hate the world anymore. That's a start, she says, grinning. I grin back. Feels like one. She stands to leave, resting her hand briefly on mine. Don't vanish again, okay? I won't, I promise. After she's gone, I sit a little longer, watching the rain trace lines down the glass. The past doesn't hurt like it used to. It's just there, part of me, but not all of me. I open my notebook again and write one last line. Maybe peace isn't forgetting what broke you. Maybe it's learning to live without bleeding from it. I close the book, finish my coffee, and walk out into the rain. It doesn't feel cold anymore.